Okay, greetings everybody. This is the rest of the story, part two, and the soap opera or Greek tragedy of my life. It's up to you to decide which it is. I'm not sure which it is. I have gone up and down, highs and lows. I am being whipsawed, and I mean mostly whipped by what's happening to my body through the advent of modern miracle of drugs. I was going to do this thing yesterday and I didn't have any energy. The drugs that they're giving me to prevent my heart from racing or because of the atrial flutter, they have some terrible side effects, and one of which have to do with sleep. So I called up my lovely and caring doctor and said, is there any chance I could get something to help me sleep? Well, she said, yeah, and she said, you're depressed, right? And I said, well, not really. Well, I sort of am depressed, but you know, it comes with being 86. So everybody's a little depressed, I think, at my age. And so she said, all right, well, we'll give you this antidepressant, but the side effect, of course, is sleepy, and it is not habit forming, which is why they can give it out. So I said, all right, I'll take it, I'll try it. So I get this big bottle of it, and I take one, and oh my goodness, does it ever relax me? And I do sleep a lot, and I have to get up in the middle of the night to pee, and I can hardly walk, but boy, I'll tell you. So I wake up in the morning and I can't wake up. I'm just hungover. It's just terrible. And the reason that I did that is I have to drive 60 miles to my dentist. Don't ask me why, but we have a dentist in Stockton. And so it's a good 60-mile drive. And I can just barely, I was worried about falling asleep because as I mentioned last time, I totaled a car by falling asleep, but I'm terrified of doing it again. And then if I do, the insurance company's never going to let me drive. So I thought, well, I want to make sure I'm awake for that. Well, I sort of stayed awake for it, and that really wasn't a problem. But the rest of the day, I couldn't do anything. I'd be like that, and I would just fall asleep while I was doing things. Fortunately, it didn't happen on the drive at all, but my shoulder hurt. You know, as I think I mentioned, I had a pacemaker put in. Well, my pacemaker, and I wear a nice sling. I don't have it on right now, but I have a nice sling to wear that just reminds me, but evidently wearing the sling hurts something too. So anyway, I'm just in constant little pains, and let me interrupt myself and say I have been blessed before this whole occurrence is that at my age I didn't have any aches and pains, and now I am inundated with them. All right, so moving right along, you'll recall that I had gone to the hospital and I wanted to add some things that I forgot to put in last time because I really wasn't feeling that good. I'm feeling much better today. The last time when I went to the hospital, I went in on a Friday, and of course, it was at the afternoon, and they said, oh, we're going to get you ready for a procedure, so no food by mouth. Well, Dottie had brought food in for me because we knew that Kaiser doesn't have good food. So Saturday comes along, and no breakfast, no dinner, but Dottie has brought my dinner. So I eat and I get a nice dinner, and the next day I'm supposed to have the CAT scan, but no food in the morning, so they feed me, and so no food in the afternoon. They finally gave me the CAT scan. Again, Dottie has brought me dinner, but Monday I'm going, all right, I'm gonna have breakfast. And that whole night with the night nurse, I said, please, please, please get me just for breakfast. I don't want a lot, just a big bowl of oatmeal. Because Dottie had given me a little bowl of fruit to put on the oatmeal. And that's what I normally eat. I eat oat groats, which are unprocessed oatmeal, but it's still same thing, same. So breakfast comes, and here on the side is a little bowl of oatmeal, but the main dish is scrambled eggs with cheese on it. And I'm going, this is a heart patient here. No, it doesn't do any good. So I just wanted to remind everybody how bad it isn't. I don't know if it was bad or not, because I wouldn't eat it. Fortunately, actually I had a nice nurse there, and I said, this little tiny half filled full of oatmeal, that isn't gonna sustain me. She said, oh, I'll get you another bowl. But it's instant, do you mind? I don't care. So I had 2 bowls, half bowl and a full bowl of oatmeal. So at least there. So all right, so now here is the rest of the story. I had been in the hospital, got out of the hospital Tuesday night, and that one of the drugs they're giving me to slow my heart down, as I said, has some side effects. One of it is that I don't sleep well. Another part of it is it constipates you. Well, I've been having that. They've been giving me that drug when I was in a Kaiser hospital. And so they give me this stint. I get out, I go to dinner with my friends, and I get a nice dinner, whole food, plant-based. No, well, it wasn't really. Yeah, it was plant-based, totally plant-based, but no oil. All right, we're doing good. And then that's Thursday night. Wednesday comes around, I go out to lunch with my no oil Wednesday group and have a nice chat. And all this time, now this is over a week, I haven't had a bowel movement. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, I keep thinking I have to go. You have your body is telling you have to go, but it's not quite ready. And so I get on the toilet, and one thing comes to another, and finally I have a bowel movement, but it felt like I was passing razor blades. Oh my God, was it painful. And my heart started racing, and it gets up to 130 again. Well, that's the problem I had just the Friday previous, and that was a quote-unquote heart event. I don't know if it's a heart attack. Technically it was, because I lost heart muscle. So people, in fact, if Chef AJ says, what the heck are you doing? You're not supposed to have a heart attack with your diet. And there isn't anybody I know in our group here in Sacramento that is more compliant to the diet than I am. I mean, it saved my life, so I thought I'm going to be compliant to this. But it's an as far as I know, now this is just my ignorance, the electrical system isn't working as it should. So anyway, the heartbeat goes up. I said, I'm not even messing around. Now this is 3 o'clock in the morning. Dottie is still asleep in her bedroom. And I'm downstairs, and I'm not going upstairs with my heart racing like this. So I call 911, they come, but Dottie finally wakes up, and they take me to the hospital this is a local hospital in Folsom, and Mercy, and they take me there, and so of course they call Kaiser and say, oh, when do you want him shipped, and yada, 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 and so I'm laying there, and Dottie brings it, fortunately she sneaks up and brings me a breakfast, because she brings it about 7, which is fine, and because in the emergency room they're not going to feed you, and plus Mercy thinks that I'm going to stay there. Well, Kaiser doesn't want me. Nobody wants me at my age. Kaiser doesn't want me. All right, Kaiser doesn't take me, so I'm going to stay there. Well, I had the best lunch at Kaiser. At Mercy. I couldn't believe it. It gets there, and they get a little strip, and I got a really nice salad. I got soy milk, a little thing of soy milk instead of regular milk, and then some fruit, and on the side, and then on the ticket they give you, a nice long ticket, it says no whole food plant-based. And I thought, these people know what they're doing. So you read the brochure, and it says there's nothing, when you're not feeling good, there's nothing better than to have a home-cooked meal. So we try to provide you with a home-cooked meal. And I thought, I was just astounded by it. So I call them up, and it says you can make requests. I said, well, I'm going to try this. So for dinner, I said, could you just whip me up a batch of beans and a batch of rice, maybe put a little seasoning on it, make it Mexican season, I don't care, Spanish, whatever, and that would be wonderful. So they do, and I swear to goodness, this would be a meal that I would go out to dinner for. I couldn't believe it. So they're checking me all day, and they find nothing wrong with me. Everything's wrong. But you know, I'm 86 years old. I had this procedure. I had that procedure. Everybody has 3 arteries that go to their heart. I only have 1. The other 2 have been included for years because they put veins in your arteries. And when they do bypass surgery, and that I had bypass surgery in 1984, so you know, I'm lucky to be alive. It's one of my blessings. In fact, my good friend Esther has said, you know, she said it's really hard to feel sorry for yourself when you're counting your blessings, and that's one of the truest things in life. Speaking of that, if you watch any of the videos that I have say, I always repeat, well, you have to repeat yourself. I mean, how many times can you tell your life story without repeating yourself? So I always say the most important thing about this lifestyle, whole food, plant-based, the most important thing to keep you going is to help you do it, is to have whole food, plant-based friends. If you look at the 5 people closest to you, you all have the same interests, the same hobbies, the same desires, the same eating habits probably. So if you make your friends whole food, plant-based, your life will be so much easier. And this really true. I spent these horrible 2 episodes in the hospital, surrounded by hospital things, and it's just, I didn't get depressed, but it's not a fun time. What got me through this were my whole food, plant-based friends, and I'm going to name names right now. My good friend Twyla would call me, and she is just full of energy and made me laugh, and then my best friend Esther, who was just a princess. I'm speech bound. She called me, and I was a little down, and she reminded me that well, if you count your blessings, you know, you can't feel sorry for, which was true. And then she said, would you like me to read my inspiration of the day? Now, every day she writes an inspiration, she videos it and puts it on her Facebook channel, and you want to go to Esther's Nutritional Journey. She has, probably most people watching this are already on it. She has over 14,000 viewers, watchers, whatever they call them on Facebook. And so she said, would you like for me to read for you what I've written for today? And I said, of course I would. And I thought, how blessed am I? I've got Esther, and Esther's word for the day is always inspirational. So here I was laying in the bed, a hospital bed, things beeping, going around. I'm listening to Esther. It was just wonderful. So I have been blessed by a lot of things, and I count the blessings. And the 3 of you that are watching this, I'm blessed that you do, and I'm thankful for when you send your greetings. If you do it on email, I will respond. I don't quite know how to respond to the things you put on YouTube. I try, and so my friend Chef AJ writes me, and she says, "What the heck's going on with you? And you're not supposed to have you know, and of course she's texting me. I hate texting to everybody if you want to know, I hate it because I don't know, my thumbs are too fat. Here, this one's even black and blue. And it's just hard for me to thumb that. So anyway, so I said, well, go to my YouTube channel and look under the rest of the story, part 1. And she writes back, she says, you have a YouTube channel? Why, you never tell anybody. You never told me. And I said, I'm not good at social. I'm 86. Come on, I'm not good at this social stuff. This is for you youngins. So anyway, I wanted to finish up. Now, here is the positive note this all came up on. That I'm going to end it on. Excuse me, I said that wrong. So every Wednesday, oh yeah, well, it's not too positive to get there. So they're going to let me out Thursday. They've been tested me, nothing. I've laid in bed all day. I've read 2 books all this time. I have a Kindle and I just go thumbing through them. And I don't watch TV. So Thursday comes and this the doctor comes. My nurse. Let me start it this way. My nurse comes to me and she says, "Hi, I'm so and so." Her last name is Singh, S-I-N-G, and I'm going to be your nurse today. That's wonderful. The hospitalology doctor, the guy that runs around, his name is Dr. Singh. And he said, and the cardiologist is going to come in and check on you, and then perhaps you can go. So the cardiologist, and what is his name, please? His name is Dr. Singh. I thought, well, evidently in India, Singh is like Smith. So, okay, good to know. So Dr. Singh comes and he leaves, and then finally the cardiologist comes, and he is very distinguished man. Thin, look, a nice coat. He's got a beautiful turban on his head. His beard is immaculately trimmed. He sits down and he says, well, what's your story? Now, this was interesting. He asked me, okay. And I told him my story, and he said, oh. He said, I understand something about plant-based. And I said, yes, I've been plant-based for 6 years. And he goes, oh, he said he's been plant-based for 3 years. And he said, let me show you my card. And he proceeds to, and of course it has his name, Dr. Karan Singh, MD. And on the back, it has understanding the principles of plant-based living. Watch these movies. What the Health, Game Changers, and Forks Over Knives. And he even has a little symbol, which I don't have it on my here, but it's one that I use around the house. It's a heart-shaped picture of a whole bunch of different vegetables. And so I proceed to tell him about the 2 groups that I'm involved with. The Wednesday No Oil Wednesday group, and then the Saturday night one we have at a Mexican restaurant, and it's No Oil Saturday night, or I call it the Nose group. And he said, well, I'd be interested in joining that. So, you know, mostly when doctors come to visit you, they're just terrific. We were there for 10, 15 minutes. I mean, he was the brother from another mother in a different country that I had never known. I mean, we just hit it off immediately. And he says, I'd like to join your group. And I said, there's no joining, you just show up. So he said, oh, all right. So I said, it's Saturday night. And I gave him my card. And I said, my email is on my card. Just send me an email and I'll send you the information. Oh, okay. So he leaves, and about a half an hour, and so we're talking, we're getting meat ready. And he says, you can go. He says, we can't do anything for you here. So the hospitalist says, fine. So we get everything ready. And about a half hour later, I'm talking to the nurses getting ready. And he comes back and he says, I want you to have my card. And he writes his phone number. He said, this is my personal cell number. I want you to have this. And I thought, wow. So I was feeling pretty, and then we actually then talked a little bit more. And it's just, he's totally open. He said things that just blew me away. He said, well, to be honest with you, medicine is only 20% of it. He said 80% of it is what you eat. And he said, and I couldn't believe it. And he said, I want to learn. He said, I want to come to your group. And he said, I want to come to learn. And I want to learn about it. And this blew me away because Esther and I have had problems in both of these groups. We consider them one group, but meet twice, that were people. One MD wanted to come and he wanted to proselytize us. He wanted to, because we get 20, 30 at both times, and he wanted to proselytize and use it to get people to subscribe to his this or that or whatever it was. We have a lot of trouble with that. We don't have trouble, we just stomp it down in a hurry. And so this was just, he was incredibly open. So I'm just very happy and ready to go. But before I go, I think, well, I haven't had BM. It's time to take a BM. This is a good place. So I go into the hospital and, I haven't got regular yet. So it was a little bit of a strain. And my heartbeat gets up to 130 and I'm still on the monitor at this time. And so everybody comes running in. I walk out of the bathroom, there they all are. And I'm thinking, hello? And they said, well, your heartbeat went really fast. And I said, yeah, I know. He said, well, we can't let you go home. I go, oh, I don't want to spend the night in the hospital. He said, oh, no, we can't. I said, well, call the cardiologist, call Dr. Singh, because I thought he was on my side. And he said, well, we can't get a hold of him. I said, I can. So I call him, and this is why I love the guy. In a burst of honesty, he says, yeah, why not? He says, when you get home, you're going to have bowel movements, and when you're home, your heart's going to go fast. And he said, well, how fast is your heart rate now? Well, it was back to 70. He says, when you go home, it's going to go up, and it's going to go back down again. So there's nothing we're going to do for you. But they still wouldn't let me go home. So, they would have, but I had to go against medical advice with AMA. And I thought, So anyway, I went home. That was Thursday night. Went home Friday. I sent Dr. Singh since I had his phone number, I texted him information where the dinner was going to be, and he shows up at the dinner. And that was the best dinner we ever had. I mean, he was just another guy at the dinner. He and I bonded even further. And here's something that I hope doesn't get anybody in it. I'm sure it wouldn't be. He can do what he wants. We're sitting down with him, and I asked him, he gives me his life story. I'd already told him my life story, and we just are very, I can't understand why a guy that's sophisticated and quiet and wants to hang around with a guy like me, but he does. And I said, I've talked to Dottie, my wife, and he knew her by then. And I said, she's the primary insurer in this family. And I said, I asked her if she would be open if we could switch our insurance so that he could be my cardiologist and that I could go to that hospital rather than Kaiser, although there's a lot of advantages to Kaiser. And so I asked Dottie, I said, would you be willing to explore it, just to look at it? She said, all right. I mean, she really likes her doctor. Kaiser saved her life. She had they caught cancer early, and she got it, and they really helped her when she had her stroke. So Kaiser had been very good to her. So it isn't a decision we'd like. So he looks at me and he says, well, why would you do that? And I said, well, so that you could be my cardiologist. And he said, oh, don't be silly. He says, he said, you can ask me a question anytime you want. And I said, no, I would be taking advantage of my relationship with you, of our friendship. I couldn't do that. So sure, kid. He said, and I love this about the man, the information is not to be hoarded. It's not to be kept in. Any information you have should be spread to the world. And I said, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do in my own humble way about whole food, plant-based. That's why I'm doing these videos. It'd be a lot easier for me to sit and read and escape and, just not do anything. But he's right. So it really made me feel good. And I told him later in one of our emailing back and forth, is that I told him, you gave me the greatest gift one human can give another. It gave me peace of mind. Because the biggest problem, like I'm having right now, isn't the heart or isn't the body or the aches and pains. It's the lack of information. When you don't know what's happening to you, it's terrifying. Is this good or is this bad? Will this pass? Will it not pass? Is it usual? Does everybody do this? Do most people do this? And we're not told that. So if I had a subtitle for this or about anything, is A for the kids, don't do drugs. That's the worst. But B is information is the key. We're not idiots as patients. Give us the information. Let us make informed choices. And let us understand when things are happening. I mean, I know that at 86, I can't live forever. That's my clock going off, my mother's clock. I forget about it. So I think that's about what I want to end up on this. I want to thank all of you that have subscribed to this. The message is, really, it's your whole food, plant-based friends that will help you. And they help you in ways that you don't, I didn't understand, I didn't anticipate, and in really, really interesting ways. So thank you, and that's the latest update. I will post this ASAP. Thank you much.